I think we're really good at looking and measuring the what, like the what do you do, but coaching, a lot of it is about the how.
Where have you seen coaching be the most successful and the most impactful?
Yeah, I've seen it be successful in every company I've worked in. Coaching, at least in all the places where I've worked, has been seen as additive.
Sandi, thank you so much for doing this. Happy to be here. One of the first things you and I first talked about when we met was coaching and sort of our shared sort of passion and love for coaching. But I am curious as to how you've seen that deployed in different organizations. So for example, at banks versus some of the companies that you work with now, where have you seen coaching be the most successful and the most impactful?
Yeah, I've seen it be successful in every company I've worked in, truthfully. So, I think there's a bit of a misnomer that, poor performance, led to sort of coaching back, 20-something years ago.
Corrective.
Correct, exactly. And I think that's gone now. So coaching, at least in all the places where I've worked, has been seen as additive, something that's a benefit. I've had different coaches throughout my career, and I see it as a real luxury in a way that's helped me develop as a person and as a leader. And I think certainly in the bigger companies where I've worked in the past, it was viewed the same way. It was tied to top talent initiatives. It was tied to achieving sort of regional company initiatives. And similarly in the smaller companies, which I've now had experience in as well, we deploy it to drive cohesion in leadership teams, to align people's goals with the broader leadership, the broader firm's goals, and to be aware of each other's areas for development, but also strengths, such that we can collectively leverage those to drive great performance.
Yeah, one thing we hear, from time to time is that, hey, coaching sounds really interesting, but what's the ROI? Right?
Yeah.
If I'm spending this dollar, how many dollars am I earning back in return, and by when, right? And what would you say to people who are at that stage of sort of evaluating coaching as a viable proposition for their organization?
I mean, honestly, I get it all the time. I really do. And I've got a personal view, which is possibly not so popular. And that is, I know we love measurement. We're in a day and age of measurement. We love metrics, performance against, the key results that we set. We love looking at the return on the investments that we make and then using that data to make data-based decisions about how we want to operate in the future. But humans are humans. They're not just data. And I think we're really good at looking and measuring the what, like the what do you do. But coaching, a lot of it is about the how. Like, how did they do that? How well did they inspire others? And we talked about, vision and inspiration before. How did they conduct themselves from an integrity point of view? Do people want to work for them and be around them? If you're a founder, do people gravitate towards you? Have you seen changes in behaviour that have resulted in improved productivity And so some of those how things, honestly, are just really intangible and hard to measure. I mean, you can do an assessment at the beginning of the coaching and at the end of the coaching, and often that makes people feel better with a lot of, 360 feedback. But really, in my humble opinion, it's not something that can be measured in 6 months or a year. I've been on some absolutely amazing development leadership programs, which if you measured me at the end of that year or year and a half, I'd say it was great. But then 5 years later, I'd say it's absolutely phenomenal. And so it's, I think the measurement for coaching is a little bit of a misnomer. It's absolutely important, so to be able to sell it in the workplace, but we shouldn't, in my opinion, just rely on the measurement to determine the success.
What I think is really interesting about that is that, with coaching, a lot of the, skills or competencies that are being developed are often put in the bracket or group of soft skills. Yes. Right? And I think soft skills get a bad rap.
Even the name,
right?
soft skills.
Exactly, right? Soft skills get a bad rap because people just assume that there's fluffy stuff,
Nice to have,
right?
yeah.
It's nice to have fluff. But in actuality, ultimately, these skills are all rooted in helping you become a better leader. And I don't think anyone would debate that, like, being a high-performing, strong leader is important for organizational performance.
Yeah.
No one would debate that. But at the same time, because these skills are often sort of, like you said, they have a misnomer for being sort of soft skills, people underinvest into this, right?
Yeah, potentially. I'm seeing people quite receptive to it now.
Yeah.
Truthfully. And so it's not whether people are bought in or not, it's whether I can afford it or not.
Scalable or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe I've surrounded myself with people who are believers, but I was watching the tennis last night and I was thinking about talking to you today, and I'm watching these fantastic, phenomenal tennis players. All of them have a coach. You would never say to one of the tennis greats, "Oh, you're so great, you've got there, like, time to give it a rest and stop learning now." Like, that just doesn't happen. And in the corporate world, we have sort of great corporate athletes as well. So I don't really understand a scenario where you wouldn't continue to learn. Maybe it's coaching, maybe it's a different way of learning, but continue to enhance your performance in some way to make you better at what you do.
Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned the sports thing, because one of the biggest sort of sources of inspiration for our sort of persona was this guy named Tim Grover. And for those of you who don't know, Tim Grover was Michael Jordan's personal coach. So, obviously, right. Michael Jordan on all of his teams has a bunch of coaches, right? But he hired this guy out of his own pocket to coach him sort of personally. And, if you look at Tim Grover, he's not like a big guy, but he's mainly coaching him on mindset. And Michael Jordan, like, literally paid him so he wouldn't work with anyone else in the NBA. He's like, this is my secret sauce, right? And only when he retired, he passed it over to Kobe, who was like the next.
But there's more and more cases like that.
Exactly.
They just don't come out in the press. I was at a dinner the other night, a founder dinner, and I'm sitting next to someone who similarly, in his world, has employed a coach for the last 15 years. And this coach is now so entrenched in this person's life that it's now more of a holistic coach, not just in the workplace, but wellness. And I think wellness is something we don't talk about in leadership very much. But unless you're fit, rested, content, happy, it's really difficult for you to be great at what you do unless you're okay. So I think coaching can also help with that really preliminary stage, like in terms of self-awareness and personal well-being. And then when you're ready, then you can go on to inspire and others and lead. So I think you can tailor coaching to different stages of the leadership journey as well.
Yeah. Sandi, thank you so much for doing this. This was a fun conversation. Thanks so much.
Always happy to.